All of what is happening right now needs to be looked at through the lens much, much more than just economics, although economics is getting all the attention, of course. This is about what worldview, what ideology will rule humanity moving forward. Communism, again, no regard whatsoever for human beings. Obvious when you consider how they treat their own citizens. Today's commentary is brought to you by MyPillow.com and Real Estate for Life. MyPillow has a fantastic spring sale going on and even deeper discounts for Souls and Liberty viewers who just have to type in the Souls and Liberty promo code on MyPillow.com's website. And over at Real Estate for Life, if you want to buy or sell a home and support pro-life organizations at the same time, visit realestateforlife.org or text 248-431-1440. Numbers right there on the screen. Be sure to mention Souls and Liberty and we'll receive a sizable donation at no cost, zero cost to you. Now, in the cacophony of leftist lunatics screaming about Trump causing the sky to fall, remember, they have skin in this game, especially Democratic Party leaders and politicians. A lot of skin. They want to put into people's minds the lie that what Trump is doing is disastrous, especially with China. But wait to cotton pick a minute there. The Dems in D.C. and the Chinese in Beijing have something very much in common. They're all communists. And that means they hate America, they hate God, they hate natural law. It's been the Dems, remember, going all the way back to Clinton, who let China come into the world economic scene to begin with. It was him in that 1992 NAFTA thing, and then the 2000 letting them into the World Trade Organization. Once in, they maneuvered and cheated their way to the top of the trade war, just as famous billionaire Kevin O'Leary said recently.
They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough.
Of course they do all that. They're communists who have no morals because they reject natural law. And more than cheat at business, these are the same leaders who forced abortions on women after one child, run slave labor camps, where companies like Nike, by the way, make a windfall. They crush the freedom of their own people. They're communists. They punish their own citizens for free speech and freedom of religion. Their list of crimes is too long to measure. Crimes against humanity, human nature, the natural law. The Chinese Communist Party, no less than the Soviet Union was, is hell-bent on world domination. That's what communists want. Every move they make, however remote or direct, is aimed at that single goal. Recognizing that America was the giant hurdle in accomplishing that, they took aim at the U.S., not militarily, because they couldn't have put up with the Allied response, American response, but they did so economically. So they cozied up to the likes of Trader Joe Biden, who was the U.S. Senator back in the day, to ram through the Senate the coveted designation of most favored nation trade status for China, a slave labor communist country. That opened the door for the massive surge in Chinese manufacturing, which overwhelmed the U.S. middle class and impoverished them, as hundreds of U.S. companies made for Beijing, partly for the slave labor, partly because the Dems put in place business-killing regulations here at home. All of what is happening right now needs to be looked at through the lens much, much more than just economics, although economics is getting all the attention, of course. This is about what worldview, what ideology will rule humanity moving forward. Communism, again, no regard whatsoever for human beings. obvious when you consider how they treat their own citizens. Every year, for decades, the Chinese have finished with hundreds of billions in trade surpluses, and they have funneled large portions of that into their military, at this point being trillions of dollars after all those years. Meanwhile, here at home, the communist Dems, as opposed to the communist Chinese, have let our military deteriorate, pushing DEI crap, among other things. The Dems go on about Russia, 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 but since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, the real threat to humanity has been the Chinese Communist Party, aided and abetted by traitors here in America in the Democratic Party. Remember when it was revealed that slimy U.S. Congressman Eric Swalwell was actually sleeping with a Chinese communist spy, Fang Fang? Nothing happened to him. Remember when it was revealed that Hunter Biden was cashing enormous checks, millions of dollars from the Chinese? Nothing happened to him, and now it won't because of his father's pardon. Heck, even tampon Tim Walz was tramping all over China for years. Demonic Chinese were buying off and blackmailing U.S. politicians, all in an attempt to keep their rear flank covered. And now Trump is blowing every bit of that up sky high. On the big level, the really big level, big picture level, the communists are atheists and they hate God. Everything flows from that. And that makes them demonic. And they don't have to consciously understand that to be demonic. From their point of view, they're simply getting rich by cheating, lying, stealing, and unnecessary killing and enslaving people on their way to world domination. But that's not Satan's point of view. He's playing for eternal world domination of anyone he can get his claws into. That means patriots need to be equipped not just for the political and cultural battle out there, very important, but not the most important. We have to be more attuned to the spiritual battle inside each of us. None of us can fight the demonic on our own. So we invite you to join us in this healing prayer to better equip us all in the mission at hand. Praise to you, O Christ, for the victory of your glorious cross. Through the power of your death and resurrection, be our champion over the evil that afflicts us, the sickness of our bodies, the errors of our minds, the confusion of our feelings, the guilt of our consciences, the brokenness of our relationships, and the weakness of our faith. Make good our hope in you and restore us now and forever to your glory, O crucified and risen Lord. Amen. Thank you for joining us today. Coming to you from Houston, Texas. Yeehaw! I'm Gary Michael Voris. God love you.